Alright guys, it's Kara Corey here, registered dietitian, and I'm about to do an episode of Dietitian Talk, and I wanted to do something a little bit that I'm a little bit passionate about today. Something up and coming in the news is a new treatment modality for obesity. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this or not. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it. If not, and you've heard about it, please stick around, listen to the video. I'd love for you to comment below what your thoughts and opinions are on this topic. So this past week, I believe it was, within the past week, the FDA just passed and approved a new product safe for the treatment of obesity. This product is called the AspireAssist, and it's a new device that actually is surgically implanted into your abdomen so that you can pump food out of your stomach after consuming it. So why don't you just chew on that for a second? Yeah, you heard me correct. So if you haven't heard of this yet, I shit you not, you guys can search it. It's out there in the news. All over the place, people are talking about it. So I heard about it and I almost just didn't even want to Jason asked me and I'm I can't even handle this right now. I don't even want to think about it or talk about it. That's all we need is one more crazy idea in this world. But yeah, I had to look it up today, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, I gotta do a video on this and talk a bit about it, because I was just kind of appalled looking at it. And I know it's kind of a strong word, but I am strongly against this device in terms of what I've seen or know about it at this point in time, because being a registered dietitian, it just sends the wrong message, folks. It really does. And obesity, don't get me wrong, is a huge issue in this world, in this world, not just this country. It's a huge issue, right? And clearly we're not doing something right. We need more answers to this problem. So I totally get it, and I agree we need to find something more out there. But this device seems so excessive to me. So this is actually, and I've got kind of an article I printed, so I might reference this a few times because there's a lot of great points in this article that I found. You guys can look it up on the internet, but there's actually a huge group of physicians right now that are so against this. They're trying to petition and get a bunch of physicians together to actually sue the FDA for even approving this product. So I'm not quite sure where all that's going to go, but there's clearly a huge group of health professionals out there that are against it. So if you're a healthcare professional, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. But this product basically is approved for folks who meet the criteria that they have a BMI, which is your body mass index. So for those of you that don't know, it basically just looks at your height and weight in proportion to each other. It doesn't really take into account any other factors. So technically, Mark Lobliner, being a bodybuilder, actually not him because he's lean as fuck, but many bodybuilders fall into a high BMI category. So BMI is not a great basis. I tangent, that's a whole other video. But this is the only criteria that they're using to approve this product for, so that you're someone who's got a BMI between 35 and 55, and you've been unable to lose weight by following other non-surgical procedures, which is probably a good chunk of Americans, right? And then they say it should not be used for those with eating disorders. So, okay, here's my issue. Number one, I think we found this out before in healthcare. It's still a business, healthcare, right? It's still a business. This company is still out to make money. So I don't care what your criteria is. Just like there's the criteria for all the different gastric bypass procedures and things like that. I don't know how many people I've known to not meet the criteria that still have had procedures done. There's always ways around things. So having this product on the market, I don't believe it's necessarily going to get utilized for the people who necessarily always need it. Okay, and to me, this is my main concern with it. Well, actually, I got quite a few here. But this is a product that almost mimics, and the article talks about it, I totally agree with it, and that was my first thought. It almost mimics an eating disorder. It almost mimics bulimia to me, but it's just a different process. So there's this actual like port valve, it's called, connected to your abdomen, like above your belly button essentially, that you can like close and open, and then you hook your tube to it, which is like the size of a straw, I guess, that you then connect to the drain or what have you, that then goes into the toilet. So you eat your food and then you wait 20 to 30 minutes, and then you connect yourself to your little tube and stand over a toilet and allow yourself to drain. And the theory is that you, by doing so, you absorb 30% less of the calories that you've consumed. I mean, is this not like blowing anyone else's mind right now? Because it's absurd to me. It's crazy. And I just watched like a quick little 2-minute video on YouTube that has like this creepy, happy music behind it while a lady's standing over the toilet dumping her food through a freaking tube. To me, it's crazy. Now, I know I might get some people saying, well, you don't understand. Have you ever tried to lose weight before? Are you in this type of situation? Or blah, blah, blah. I am not unsupportive of weight loss methods, including surgeries, including gastric bypass. There are several other approved things out and available for folks who are in that severe category of being unable to lose weight. They have been studied much further and have been proven are a bit more acceptable within the healthcare profession. And this one just really kind of scares me a bit for what's to come in the world, that this is something that we're promoting to lose weight. So I have the problem with the fact that to me it mimics bulimia in a way, if that makes sense. It's almost like a mechanical form of bulimia. You know, it's just I don't even know if it's any prettier. Yeah, you don't have to stick your fingers down your mouth or something, but you've got this tube that you're carrying around with you wherever you go so that you can dump your food in the toilet afterwards. So my issue is that in a way, I don't feel like it's promoting the behavioral change that needs to be promoted. Some of what the doctors in this article were discussing, some of their feelings against it were that in a way, it can almost promote binge eating, because who's going to give a shit if they know they can just dump it in the toilet afterwards? So are we really helping to change behaviors, or are we almost like making it easier for people to develop binge behavior? In their defense was you can't binge while utilizing this device because you have to chew very thoroughly. And they got some statements from folks and stuff that have been using the device. And let me throw in there too, this was approved based on a 1-year study they did on 111 people. So this is the only information we have thus far, is a 1-year study on 111 people using this product. So that alone tells us we don't know long-term effects. But a lot of the folks who have been using it stated you can't binge because you have to chew so thoroughly. Because if you don't chew thoroughly enough, the food will get caught in your tube. I don't know. I guess if the food's getting caught in the tube, it's still excreting out of your body. I don't get why. I don't know that I find that a good answer. But their defense was this product forces you to slow down and chew slower, and that's a behavioral change because your chewing is going to have to change. And I just say, like, how freaking extreme is this to have a freaking tube hooked to your belly in order for you to get that you need to chew slower? Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. There's got to be something more we can do as healthcare professionals to help assist people without going to this extreme. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in this, but these are my feelings on it. The other thing they were saying too with the device, that's good because you have to chew your food, you have to eat slower, and you have to slow down so you feel full quicker and you don't eat as much. And the other thing they said too, which I don't know. They said people eat healthier because they have to actually see what comes out of their body, and healthier food looks better coming out of their body. I don't know. I just don't know if I believe that one, and I find that, again, a bit ridiculous. Like, that's a bit absurd to me. So you're telling me because they're looking at what's coming out of the tube, they're no longer going to eat a hamburger and french fries. All of a sudden, they're going to be like, I'm going to eat some fruits and vegetables. Like, I don't see that going hand in hand with this quote-unquote miracle device. It's a little bit crazy to me. And within the study, too, what's interesting, the study that they did, the folks that were on it also were supposed to be doing like some nutritional and exercise along with it. I didn't actually look at the study. I don't know how in-depth they were. And then the other group only did counseling, like some nutritional counseling, along with utilizing the tube. And both groups lost weight. The group that did nutrition and exercise along with it lost like 12% of their body fat, I believe it was, total body fat, and the other group lost like 4%. So 12% of their starting weight and 4% of their starting weight. Those aren't off the chart percent drops. Those aren't huge game changers if you think about losing 12%. Don't get me wrong, that's significant in terms of medical conditions and things like that. But the extreme, you're going to have a procedure to have something implanted in you, and we can talk about the side effects. To lose 12% your body fat, I just really feel like there's something more we could do. And my issue is people feel like they've tried it all, they've done it all. And I do believe some people have. Everyone's got a different situation, so I have to generalize for these videos. So I know people tend to get upset sometimes when I generalize, but I have to, so it's not a 19-hour video. But a lot of people tend to feel like they've tried it all, I've done it all. I sometimes feel like I'm done doing this. Like, I'm so sick and tired of thinking about food and worrying about my weight. And I wish I could just have a gastric sleeve on and not have to worry about it. Like, we all struggle. Some people struggle a ton more than others. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like something like this is just gonna like open this can of worms that everyone and their brother is gonna think this is like this miracle thing. We're all gonna be walking around with gastrostomy tubes, and that's just nuts to me. And now the company, I mentioned that this is only a year-long study. We don't know long-term effects. Apparently the company states this is a product that's only supposed to be used 1 or 2 years. I don't really understand the thought process behind that. Because with using this device, if all of a sudden you stop using this device, that mechanism for weight loss is gone, unless true behavior change is learned that they're stating with chewing and better eating choices. Maybe that's the thought, that they would then transition into a life of better eating and slower chewing. But the folks that utilize this device said, I'm using this for the rest of my life. This shit is great. You know, I can choose to give up my food. I can choose to dump it in the toilet, or I don't have to. I can go enjoy a hot dog and cheese fries with my son at a baseball game and choose to aspirate it, or I can choose not to. It's cool. Like, so I think people who would start using this, I don't see why they would stop unless they were having issues with side effects. And my concern with stopping a product like this, because if you think about like gastric bypass and those other procedures, those aren't reversible procedures. So this one's slightly more attractive to people because it is quote unquote reversible, right? You can have the port removed. It's done and over with. You can back out. You can't back out at having half of your stomach cut off. So I can see where this might be an appealing option to folks. But still, I'm losing my train of thought for a second because I'm just so I'm just astonished by all this. I'm not going to lie here. I don't know. This whole thing is just, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts to me. The amount of weight you could lose. I think just hearing that something is going to help you not absorb as many calories is going to be very attractive. It's attractive to me. I would love to not absorb as many calories, okay? Like, who wouldn't? The rare few that have high metabolisms and struggle to maintain their weight. But this is going to be an attractive option to a lot of people. And, you have to think about the side effects, all right? Let's bring it back, Kara. I'm getting my train of thought back. But anytime you have something inserted into your body, anytime you have an incision, that insertion point where that port valve is in your stomach, you are at risk for infection. So that risk of infection is always going to be there. Now, the people from AspireAssist are going to sit here and say, on the flip side of things, we've had people with feeding tubes for years. Okay, so people have feeding tubes, PEG tubes inserted into their stomach when they need nutrition support going in. All we're doing is the opposite. We're dumping it out of you. It's cool. The tube can be in there for as long as you need. And I've worked in nursing homes where I've had patients who have had tubes in their stomach for several years. It's not ideal. The risk of infection is always there. It's always going to be there. And then in times when your immune system is compromised, your infection rate is that much more of a concern. You're that much more likely to have an infection. The other side effect could be leakage, Just saying that makes me laugh. But, you're going to have this tube in you. I think a side effect that wasn't mentioned in the article, how about your relationships? How about your sex life? Let's talk about that. Your tube's there. I don't know. I mean, we can work around it, sure. But I just feel like that might impact things a little bit. I gotta say, you might be a little self-conscious about, sorry, honey, my burger's leaking out a little bit that I had earlier. Oopsie. I mean, there's side effects there, okay, with any type of surgery like that. They say it's a non-invasive surgery. It only takes 15 minutes, but the people that did have the surgery done did say that they had some issues with soreness and you can have those common side effects as well as nausea, vomiting, bleeding is going to be another side effect of having a tube sticking out of your abdomen and things like that. So the one difference, even though I mentioned this is maybe a more attractive way to go for obesity treatment versus like a gastric bypass, because that is not reversible. But with gastric bypass, there's actual hormonal changes that take place that really can help assist with medical issues. With those surgeries, there's known changes to the hormones that our body produces that can help cure diabetes, essentially, lower your cardiovascular risk by improving your hypertension and things like that. There's some crazy stuff that can occur with gastric bypass that is known. This type of a device that is not going to have any of those types of impacts on your hormone levels. Essentially, the only way those medical issues would get better would be with the weight loss, which, as I mentioned, it didn't sound that significant to me. So all of this is still fairly new. I'm just kind of spitting out to you what kind of stuck out to me with this product. Like I said, it's very new. And just because the FDA approves something, as most of us should have learned by now, if you look at this kind of stuff, just because the FDA approves it doesn't mean we should be prescribing it to everyone, doesn't mean we should be using it as a treatment, it doesn't mean we should be using it as a gold standard with folks with obesity. So just some food for thought, very, very interesting. Like I said, I do think it's good that we're thinking about ways to combat this issue with obesity, but I feel like a lot of what's being done with this device could be done with education. And why don't we have reimbursement for dietitians to work with people? Why don't insurance plans be more preventative instead of reactive? Why can't your insurance cover meeting with a registered dietitian to help you? We have proven evidence that by working with a support system, by working with a dietitian, by tracking your meals, things like that can help produce substantial changes to your life, to your health, to your weight. But who can afford that? Dietitians aren't cheap, okay? We're not free, and most insurances will not cover that unless you meet the Medicaid and all that criteria with your health conditions. So you already have to be in a bad place in order to be eligible to have insurance cover it. Why can't we make those changes? And I realize that stuff doesn't happen overnight, but this is where my mind goes when I get passionate and upset about stuff like this coming out in the market. It really concerns me on a lot of different levels, as I've already expressed. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And, comment below on if you've heard about this product, what you think based on what I've said, based on what you've read. Maybe you know someone who's using it, because people are using it now. It's approved and it has been being used in other countries. So maybe you're in one of those countries and know people who use them. I'd love to hear some more information on it. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, enjoyed it, hit that like button. As you know, I always appreciate when you share this with others through your social media accounts. Spread the word. I know you guys like my dietitian talk, so keep helping me out. Spread the word. I really appreciate it, and I'll be back with more advice I would give for those switching to intuitive eating. Someone asked how to get an 8-pack at home. Good Lord. Genetics. An 8-pack of abs. Let's talk about abs for a second. A lot of people say abs are made in the kitchen. Which I totally, I don't disagree with that, but I just feel like that's not the full story, okay? Abs are so much genetic, it's not even funny.